Are you ready to stand up and fight the right revolution? Are you ready to stand up and fight just like soldiers? Many are called, few are chosen. Many are called, few are chosen. I just came back from doing my civic duty. We got a European election, and I just done my vote. Went to cast my vote. Of course, the voting booth was empty, like it usually is down here in Brixton. There's been a battle going on, a quite intense one, and a lot of it is this guy here. Can you see this? Is this focusing? Look at this. I got this through my letterbox. The scary face of Britain in the grips of Brexit mania. This is the face that everybody is focusing on. Can you see this? Nigel. They're only making plans for Nigel. Ha 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 ha. Yeah? We're in the grips of a, dare I say, revolution. And people have been scared out of their mind, or should I say the political classes are being scared out of their wits by this man here, Nigel Farage, who represents, for those of you who don't know, the Brexit Party. The face, he's formed a new party called the Brexit Party. You know, he's initiated Britain leaving Europe, and there was a big referendum a few years back, a big battle over whether Britain should be part of Europe or whether Britain should be, you know, like back in the old days, where Britain used to run things, where they used to go to people's country and take over their resources. And they call it the good old days. That's what it's referred to here in the UK, the good old days. Yeah? Let me just move my reflector because it's coming into shot. We don't want that, do we? Yeah, the good old days. So anyway, we got a lot of places that are suffering economic downturn, and the blame has been put on immigrants and immigration and all kinds of nonsense. And you got these mainly older people, well, that's what it seems like to me, who remember or seem to remember or have some kind of romantic notion of the good old days when empire ran things and Britain could just go and take. And they want to go back to that. They want to reverse it back to that. So anyway, there was a big referendum a few years back, and the leavers wanted to leave and the remainers wanted to remain. And the vote was very close. Very, very close. I can't remember the actual numbers, but it was like, I don't know, maybe 55% wanted to leave. And something like that. You can correct me down in the comments. But anyway, the leavers managed to win this vote. So Britain is now about to leave the UK. It's set to leave the UK, and it's past certain deadlines where it's supposed to have left, and politicians are getting cold feet. They're scared because whatever it is they're scared of. But anyway, one of the reasons, I mean, in that referendum, I voted to remain in Europe. And one of the reasons that I voted to remain, and lots of people actually voted to remain, was because if Britain leaves Europe, the European Parliament, that means Britain becomes a self-governing entity which will be run by Parliament. Now, the big problem with that for many Remainers is that Parliament's not fit for purpose. Parliament is a crazy little place down in Westminster where they do all kinds of nonsense. It's like a little bubble which is separate from reality. And to entrust our future to this little bubble that's separate from reality would be madness. So anyway, that was the basis on which I voted to remain. I rather remain with a bigger body where there's lots of different people from different countries debating stuff. I feel we, the citizens, will get a more fairer deal, treated more like human beings in that setting rather than in a setting where the crazy dudes down in Parliament do what they want to do without thinking about us. You know, they deal with the elites. They deal with their friends. Yeah? So that was the basis on which I, speak about myself, voted to remain. Anyway, let's fast forward this thing down the line to 2019 now, and Britain is set to leave. MPs don't want to leave. MPs are scared to leave. And now those who voted to leave have realized the parliament is not fit for purpose. So now they've realized that the whole politics, the whole of politics in the UK has to change, which is what leavers were saying in the first place. It's really interesting. So now we've got some new parties springing up. It's not about left or right anymore. It's not about left wing or right wing. It's not about those with the crown or the rich people and those with the poor people, you know, the working class. It's not about that no more. It is, but it's not in the same way. So this man here, Nigel Farage, he set up this party, right? And he set up a system which seems to be, to a lot of people, taking on the political classes, the political system which is broken here in the UK, and he is picking up traction. He's picking up support. He's picking up followers based upon identifying the said same thing which leavers identified, which is why they couldn't vote to leave. It's a really interesting situation that we got here. So we are in the grips of revolution. Not revolution meaning just change one political party to the next political party to the next political party, and they're still part of the same political system, which is defunct, doesn't work. We're looking at a battle where the whole of politics in the UK has to change. And I'm seeing all political figures come out to fight against this man. Yeah? I'm seeing them come out of the woodwork. Everyone's scared of this man. You know? Nigel Farage, they're afraid. You know? People's livelihoods might get taken in politics. People's way of life, backbenchers and all that kind of thing that's been set in stone for forever how long it's been set in stone is now, you know, on the line. So I'm seeing people scared, and that's a good thing to me. I mean, I'm not a supporter of Nigel. Let me get that straight from Jump Street. I don't support this man. Look at this picture. Doesn't he look crazy? He's a crazy man. He looked crazy. But what I do like is the way that he's got them scared. This man's got people scared, you know. So where does this lead us? Where is this leading us? Are we going to get the reforms in Parliament that is needed for, you know, Parliament to be a body that we can look towards and say, yeah, they for the people? Because if they had talked about that in the first place, many of those who voted leave, many of those who voted remain, I reckon would have voted leave. If they had looked at that in the first place, but it's like we've gone full circle, we've gone round in a big circle to get to this position. And it's very interesting to see where it's going. Yeah. So we've got new parties. We've got the Brexit Party on one hand, which is led by Nigel Farage. We've got Change UK, which is another party, which Change UK doesn't seem to want to change the UK. Or maybe they want to change they want to change the political system, but I think they seem to be more leaning towards changing the political system to have it remain the same. That's what it sounds like to me. But it's very interesting. We've got the whole of the political structure as we know it, life as we know it changing right here in the UK. And those who are embedded, who are invested, fighting to keep it the same. So, I don't know, where do we go from here? Where is this heading? I just went and done my vote for European Parliament. I don't know whether my vote matters, but I feel that it's important to take part in these little exercises. I think it is important for you to register how you feel in these exercises, whether it's taken into consideration or not. This is part of the fight. In other countries, in Jamaica, people vote. In Africa, people vote. In the United States, people vote. Our people vote. So I think wherever we are, we should cast our vote. Doesn't matter whether you think it works or I think it works or the next man doesn't think it. Cast your vote. Even if you spoil your ballot paper and write on there what you think, those things are counted. I done that election watching thing where a party of you go in to the election counting office and you watch and make sure that no, malpractice takes place. And they do count those papers with the messages on it, the spoilt ballots. And that accounts for something. So it's better you spoil your ballot paper than not vote at all, because at least then it's registered. Anyway, there's people talking about still calling for a second referendum. I think the referendum thing, everyone knows it was bodged. It was really handled really badly. But the reason we can't have a second referendum is because then it just invalidates democracy, which doesn't make sense. If you have a second referendum and it swings the other way, say Remain wins, then that's 1-1, isn't it? That means we need to have a third referendum, winner takes all, right? And then each referendum that you have just devalues the one before, which devalues the one before, which devalues the whole process in itself. And it's quite scary because seceding from union is what led the United States into civil war. It led the United States into civil war, and this process that we're going through could end up in the same thing. If there is a second referendum, those who voted to leave, it could lead to civil war. So we can't really go that way. We can't even think about going that way. I think we just got to take each step one at a time, gently, through this mad landscape, with this uncharted territory where we're going. Parliament has to be reformed. It has to be reformed. The worst case scenario in my mind is Britain goes into Brexit with Parliament in the state that it is, or has been from day dot. Worst case scenario. Lose-lose for everybody. We need a revolution. Revolution. Do you know what it means? Do we know what it means to have a revolution? And what it takes to fight for a solution? Fighting against oppression. Yeah? Battering down depression. The place is depressed. People don't even want to hear about Brexit no more. People don't even want to hear about politics no more. So turnout's going to be low in these votes. And that's a sad thing. It's a sad state of affairs. Serious. It's a kind of journalistic one today, I get fed up talking about cameras every day. I don't know how some of you can do it. Talking about cameras every day. It's a camera, for Pete's sake. Yeah. Let's talk about the subject that you point your camera at. Politics, news, views, the change in society, revolution. Yeah. This is just a tool. This is the real news now. This is the real subjects that we should be talking about. So here we have a man who's, scaring the society. He's the top scarer at the moment, Nigel Farage, doing his work. Could he become a Hitler? That's what I'm seeing. Isn't that how Hitler came in to being? Off of all this madness, all this mad talk, all this dysfunctionalism and depression. We're in some serious times and we're missing it. We're missing it. Man got milkshaked, you know. He got milkshaked the other day, you know. Yeah, this man got milkshaked. His milkshake brings enough brothers to the yard, to his bus. He couldn't come off the bus because mans was outside waiting to milkshake him. And not even that, I think it's PR, you know. I think it's some slick PR that mans is doing. But anyway, this is what we should be discussing. And this is what, you know, just came into my mind. So I thought I'd do a little video on this, you know. The leaving of Europe and the irony of the English football teams who don't want to leave Europe. They are in the Champions League final. We got all English team Champions League final. Liverpool and Tottenham don't want to leave Europe. We got all English Europa League final. Chelsea and Arsenal don't want to leave Europe. It's the irony of it in the time of Brexit, where England is poised to leave Europe. They don't want to leave. Do you know what it means to have a revolution? And what it takes to make a solution? Fighting against oppression, battering down depression. Oh yes, now, oh, oh, now, yeah, yes. Done this all. Big up all the remainers on my channel who have remained loyal to the life and times of fam. It's all good. Zoom.